I'm right? Yeah? Okay, so let's go. My intervention will be focused on a specific tool, which is called in French version Convention industrielle de formation par la recherche, which is, when we translate it, what we call industrial convention for research training. I would like to talk about this tool with you because this tool sums very well in France relationship between higher education and companies in the doctoral field. This tool, I will just to be more easy, I will call it CIFRE contract. Okay. This tool, to my mind, is really interesting. In particular because we are celebrating in 2021 the 40th anniversary of this tool. It means that since 1981, the CIFRE contract have brought together 9,000 companies, which is a lot, more than 4,000 research laboratories, and more or less 25,400 doctoral students around research projects. So in order to understand this tool, I will present several points to you. First, and maybe it's more important to begin, how can we define a CIFRE contract and who are the stakeholders involved in this tool? Second, what is precisely the process of this tool? Then what kind of requirements, what kind of conditions do we have to respect to benefit of this tool? And last, but I guess not least, what kind of advantages and disadvantages we can see by using this tool. So first, what about definition and stakeholders? First of all, a CIFRE contract needs to be defined more precisely. The CIFRE contract, as you can see in the PPT, is a contract that allows the state to provide financial support to any company established on French territory only, who recruits a doctoral student to entrust him or her with a research mission that will be the subject of the thesis for a period of maximum 3 years in conjunction with an academic laboratory. So, when it was created, the aim of this tool was to put an end to the strong separation between public university research and private companies. This financial support is not symbolic. It's an important support because the annual grant is more or less 14,000 euros per company per year, per PhD student. So it's such a big annual grant. And it's really important to know that this grant is not subject to value added tax, to the VAT. This grant is for 23,000 euros salary paid to the doctoral students. This means that the doctoral students will only cost to the company 9,000 euros per year. So for sure, company have to invest one amount on the doctoral student, but it's really short, a little amount compared to the global funding we need to use this tool. There are therefore 3 stakeholders in the CIFRE contract. The first one is the company, which receives support from the states. The second stakeholder is the laboratory, the research laboratory, which welcomes a doctoral student to conduct research within it. And the third and last stakeholder, it's the doctoral students who receives a grant for 3 years for his or her projects, and who benefits from a dual academic and professional training. The state therefore subsidizes qualified jobs in these companies, which in return for this research aid undertake to train and pay the doctoral students. Given this general definition, a fundamental clarification is required. This tool does not only concern industry. We are in a webinar about the link between university and industry, but this tool is also possible for companies, and more than companies and industry, it's only concern other kind of organization. I mean, in this tool, we can have public bodies as local authorities, public establishments, or public interested groups, but we can't have all the public bodies, all the public organization, because it does not apply to state services, to independent administrative authorities. CIFRE contract can also benefit associations or social organizations like NGOs or consular establishments. We have in France as chambers of commerce and industry, chambers of trades, or this kind of things. However, in practice, we have only 6% of organizations who are associations, public and social actors. It means that it's almost it's overall companies, industry, but not only. What about the process now? I must present how the CIFRE contract is really organized during the process. Even if I have not mentioned it before, one of the key stakeholders of this tool is the French Ministry of Higher Education and Research. It's this ministry that launched this tool, who financed this tool, even if the ministry does not manage this tool. In fact, the CIFRE contract is delegated to what we call the National Association for Research and Technology, ARMDOCT, which is an association responsible for implementing the CIFRE system. The aim of the ARMDOCT is to encourage the development of public and private partnership research and to place doctoral students in employment conditions. The process is based on the association of 4 stakeholders. First one is the company. The company recruits a master's level graduate students to whom it entrusts a research mission. The work will be the subject of the doctoral student thesis. The second stakeholder is the academic research laboratory, which supervises the work of the doctoral students, who is enrolled in the doctoral school to which the laboratory belongs. The third one is the doctoral students, who devotes 100% of his or her time to his or her research work, even if this time can be shared or is shared between the company and the academic laboratory. The doctoral student benefits with this from a dual academic and professional training, as I said before. And last but not least stakeholders is Association for National Research and Industry, who contracts with the company and pays a subsidy to the company. And as I mentioned before, the annual subsidy is 14,000 euros per year per doctorand, per company. So it's really interesting. And the company can benefit also what we call the research tax credits, who can minimize the cost of the doctoral student during the 3 years. Now I would like to talk about requirements. 2 kinds of requirements. First, I will talk about the requirements for each stakeholder, and after I will talk about requirements between about the links between each stakeholder. So first of all, requirements on each actor, on each stakeholder. For the doctoral students, to become a doctoral student and to benefit of a CIFRE contract, you need to hold a master's degree. So it's really easy to understand. But more precisely, you need to not have been registered as a doctoral student for more than 9 months on the date of submission of the CIFRE application contract. It means that if you are already doctoral student, you can't pretend you can ask for benefits to the CIFRE contract. One more requirement is about the status of employee, because the doctoral students have to not be or have been employed by the company continuously or discontinuously for more than 9 months on the date of submission of the CIFRE contract, CIFRE application file. It's the same time limit. And the last one is more specific because it's only for foreigners. You have to obtain specific authorization to work in France if you are non-EU nationals. It means that you have to be you have to obtain a scientific visa and a full-time work permit. So this means that there is no in this tool there is no nationality requirement as long as the doctoral student has all the necessary authorization to work. And also there is no age requirement. Before there was, but it was deleted because it was seen as a relevant tool to let people change your professional life. What about the company now? For the companies, the requirements are three. There's three requirements. The first one, it means that the company has to be established in France and has to be under the French law. It means that the French state won't help foreign companies if foreign companies are not established in French territory. The second requirement for the company is about the topic of the thesis, the subject of the thesis, because the doctoral student research subject must be clearly in line with the host company purpose. It means that we won't found the CIFRE contract is if the subject of the thesis is not in the same area, in the same field of of the activity of the company. And the last one, the company must also demonstrate sufficient support and sufficient supervision capacity because the doctoral students, we will have for sure a thesis director, but he or she will have also a scientific tutor in the company. So the company must show that they can propose sufficient support and sufficient supervision. Now, the requirements for the academic research laboratory, there is also three requirements. The first one means that the academic research laboratory has to be established in a university or a school or a public research organization. But the most important requirement is the second one, because the research laboratory has to be attached to a doctoral school. It's really classical and logical because you can't propose a framework for doctoral students if you are not in link with a doctoral school. So it's logical, but it's really important to mention it. And last information about the requirements about the academic research laboratory is that a foreign laboratory may be or can be associated, but not in an autonomous role, but only if it's in link with a French laboratory. So you can have a French laboratory and a foreign laboratory, but we can't have only a foreign laboratory without a French research laboratory. Second point about the requirements is about links between these actors, because we have 3 or 4 stakeholders and we have to be really precise about the links these stakeholders have between them. First, between the company and the doctoral students. Between them, there is an employment contract, like in labor law in a classical way. This employment contract can be a 36-month fixed term contract, or it can be also a permanent contract. It's up to the company to choose. This contract will be full-time. It's really important because in any cases, it's always full-time, even if the doctoral student is required to work alternately between the company and the academic research laboratory. It means that the doctoral students during the 3 years of the CIFRE contract is working sometime into the company and sometime into the research laboratory. But in the company, he's a full-time, even if he's not really all the time in the company. It's for his or her status in the labor law. This entire working time has to be devoted to the research subject. It means that for sure the doctoral student can help to different topics when the company needs it, but the main time of the working process of the doctoral students have to be concentrated on the PhD thesis topic or subject. Now the links. There's just a little. Now the links between the company and the university. The link between those two stakeholders is called a collaboration contract. It's not an employment contract, but a collaboration contract. This contract has a specific aim, a goal. This goal is to formalize the partnership by defining the condition of collaboration, the research methodology, the doctoral student's place of practice, and for sure also confidentiality issues or intellectual property. Intellectual property, it's more specifically important when you are in the hard sciences and medical sciences. It's just a little bit less important when you are in humanities or social sciences. And last, what about the links between the doctoral students and the university? The legal link is not an employment contract, is not a collaboration contract, but it is a thesis contract. Because the doctoral student is enrolled in the doctoral school of the CIFRE partner academic laboratory. He's or she enrolled in university or public school or research organization. And that's why the doctoral student must follow and obtain credits in the seminars, in the doctoral school seminars that the doctoral school organize. It means also that if the doctoral student don't follow it, and don't obtain the doctoral training modules, he or she won't be able to defend his thesis or her thesis when the thesis will be finished. So it's really important. It means that the status of the doctoral student is a little bit specific because he or she is a doctoral student for sure, but he or she also an employee. A worker in the company, so it's hard to be the both in the same time. Maybe my last slide is about what kind of advantages and disadvantages we can see in this specific tool, which is the CIFRE contracts. There was a few years ago official studies about the CIFRE contract, about the impact of CIFRE contracts. And these official studies carried several real advantages. First one, it's not for sure easy to obtain funding to develop a thesis project. So it's really interesting because it's such a great method for funding thesis, even if the CIFRE contract represents only 10% of the funded PhD. So it's not a big percentage of founding PhD, but for different kind of doctoral students, it's really important because if you have a professional point of view and if you want to develop a professional and practical topic for your thesis, classical founding are not possible for you because classical foundings are more for university topics, theoretical topics, and really pure academical topics. So when you propose a professional topic, you have really disadvantages in the business approach. So it's really important to propose this kind of CIFRE contract because it's quite the only tool that you can use when you are in a professional point of view for making your PhD. The second advantage is about the time you need to prepare and to finish your PhD. Official studies has shown that there is a faster defense for the CIFRE doctoral students. Well, only a few months faster. It's a faster 4-month defense. So it's not such a big difference, but it's a difference. It means that you're more efficient when you are in the CIFRE contract than when you are in the classical founding of PhD in France. The third advantage is about the labor market, because this tool, official studies made us. This tool allows an easier integration into the labor market because it allows the first important professional experience with 3 years in the same company. So when you have just finished your classical studies in master, obtaining 3 years experience in a company, it's really a great advantage compared to other master degree or even PhD degree students. And we saw that different kind of statistic shows that 27% of CIFRE doctoral students are still employed in the host company 1 year after their thesis. So it's interesting to tell it. And last slide about disadvantages, because inevitably there's also disadvantages. The same official studies showed that there's an inferior quality of the thesis when you made it in the framework of CIFRE contracts. But in fact, it's important to see what kind of criteria you use it to say it. And in fact, I think that these criteria are not relevant criteria because they use, the first criteria is publication before defense. And the second one is what you become after. Do you become a senior lecturer after or not? So these two criteria are really interesting, but I think these two criteria are not relevant for professional thesis because if you are in social sciences or humanity, when you are making your CIFRE contract, your PhD thesis in the CIFRE contract, you don't specifically need to publish before the defense, and you don't specifically need to publish after the defense. It's not really important in the professional strategy. In the same point of view, when you make a CIFRE contract, you don't want to become a senior lecturer. So for sure, you are not qualified by the public authority to become senior lecturer, but you don't care about that because you don't want to become that. So for sure, these two criteria are really important in the academic career, but they are not important in a professional career. So it's irrelevant to assess the quality of thesis made in the CIFRE contract framework with this kind of criteria. But whatever we say, I think the CIFRE contract is in France really a good tool. And you know, in France, we love to change everything every year. we reform everything too many times. So it means that if we see that CIFRE contract does exist since 40 years, it shows that it's a successful tool. So that's why it was, to my mind, interesting to present it to you. So thanks for your attention. I'm for sure ready for your questions.